Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Philly Fan Radio. I'm your host, John Myer, along with Dan Palmieri, and today we're talking about the kickoff rules and how they apply, and are they good, they bad, and really, how the hell does it work? Dan's going to explain it to us, and I'm going to ask a bunch of questions to understand it because we saw it at the Eagles practice the other day. It didn't look too bad, but I'm curious about the onside kick and how that's going to work as well. Dan, why don't you get us started? New kickoff rules.
Yeah, how's everybody doing? The new kickoff rules is going to be something very interesting this year. There's a lot of nuances to it, but the main thing to take away from it is that there is no surprise onside kick. You can't do that. You can't actually do what I guess in the olden days was called the squib kick. Um, to describe it, basically, we have a landing zone. It's designated as a landing zone. That's the area between the 20 and the opposing team's end zone.
I feel
And
like I need to draw
what
this out. All right, go
yeah,
ahead,
it's
Dan. I'm
crazy.
going to do a drawing as you talk.
So the landing zone is in between the 20 and the end zone, and the kick must hit in between that area. If it does not, if it hits before the 20, that is considered what is nowadays a kickoff out of bounds. So they'll get the ball at the opposing team's 40. And if it goes out of the back of the end zone or is downed in the end zone, now instead of getting the ball at the 25, the opposing team can touch back for getting the ball at the 30. So that's a key difference here is that kickers are being discouraged from kicking the ball out of bounds out of the back of the end zone because now you're allowing the team to actually start at the opposing 30.
Okay, I got to jump in there.
It's
That's
crazy.
that's that's crazy because 30 to me, I mean, know how many times that you want to get it down, on the 2 yard line, you got to get down there and you got to stop the ball, and now it's really very competitive. Here you get it at a 30, one quick throw and you could be in the end zone on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, I'll only speak for my personal feelings on it, but I think it's ridiculous. Usually, when the NFL does these type of things, you'll see them use the preseason as kind of a test bed, but they actually approved of this to be on the regular season already. So this isn't something we're just going to see on the regular, preseason, but we're going to see it in the regular season. And what they're trying to do here is they're trying to get the kickoffs back in the game, but they're also trying to keep the game safe because they recognize that the kickoffs are the most dangerous plays. So I get what they're trying to say and do here, but it seems a little outlandish to me. Um, Basically because they're just adjusting everything. And I personally was a fan, and any Eagles fan will be, of David Akers' surprise onside kicks to begin the second half with Andy Reid. And now you can't do that. So that's out of the window. And the only way you can do an onside kick is in the fourth quarter, and your team has to be behind, which obviously you're not going to be ahead and do an onside kick, but you have to be behind in the fourth quarter and declare that you want to do an onside kick. So even the situations of,
That's not
you
even a
want to do an
surprise. That's like,
onside
hey,
kick.
that's
Yeah.
giving it away. I mean, I thought the whole thing was a little misdirection.
Yeah, I mean, there was even times where you line up for the onside kick and then you do like a little pooch kick and you try to get it to drop there and you get, you know, a good field position. You can't even do that anymore. By declaring for it, you basically have to kick the onside kick or nothing. And
Okay, what if you pooch
it's
the
silly.
onside kick though, and does it still have to go 10 yards?
The onside kick has to go the standard 10 yards, but you cannot just pooch it because, and we'll go into the next thing, is in order to do a kickoff, you have to have 9 players, which the NFL is designating as blockers, lined up between the opposing teams. And that's crazy. Opposing teams 30 or 35. Okay. 7 of those people must touch the 35. So let's say you have to have 7 players on the 35, and then you can have 2 players on the 30.
Okay, wait. I gotta
Crazy.
jump in there. Wait, and I apologize for my lovely drawing. I'm sorry, I'm not Bob Ross on it. But here's the, obviously the 20 yards. You're telling me that on my side of it, they're lining up anywhere on the 30, 35 right here, ready to. I mean, what's that? 10 yards?
Pretty much, yeah. You're basically just having a 10-yard cushion between you and the other team. So basically, you're establishing a new line of scrimmage, and you're trying to get these players to get around the people. So there is no like head start anymore. A lot of people, in the NFL, Vince Papali for one, made his career and was established his career basically being a gunner. There are
Yeah.
no more gunners. You're not, there are no gunners. You're basically just being a blocker out there. So you're going to see a difference in the type of athletic build of these people that are going to be blockers. I don't think you're going to see as many wide receivers being blockers because obviously it's going to be a little easier to shed them off. I
Yep.
think you're going to see a lot more linebackers out there, if anything, but
Okay,
it's
so I
just,
got my 9 players on
it's
my
crazy.
opposing side. What happens to the other 2
Hmm.
players? What's next?
Yeah, so you have the 9 players on the opposing side. You can have 2 returners. So the opposite team can have 2 returners now. And basically that's it. I believe in the Hall of Fame game they said that the return rate was around 83%. So they got the results they wanted to see. People are returning the kick. Obviously it's not regular season, but it's just it's crazy, to think about how it's going to change the game. And to me, it's taking away an exciting part of the game where you had those electric returners. I mean, you're speaking of the Hall of Fame game, Devin Hester. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame. He was like the king of kickoff returns, along with the greats like Brian Mitchell. And I think you're taking away things from them because you're allowing the other team to basically get almost right up in your face before you can field the ball. And that's the thing. Yes, everybody's lined up like that, and I'm not sure how they are going to referee this, but you, meaning the opposing team, cannot actually start running after the returner until the returner catches the ball. So
Yep.
once they catch the ball, you could start running, but beyond that, you can't actually do anything. So it's just it's so outlandish, um, that I think it's a little silly, especially to just go straight into regular season things. I personally, I don't see it maintaining,
I
but
think
that's
what's
just
going
my
to
personal
happen
opinion.
is that you're going to develop schemes to try to get down and get the most, kick returns, right? So they're
Hmm.
going to, you're right there on them. And all you have to do is get past that initial line. Everybody's up on that line. There's no last man
Hmm.
standing to stop you. So once you get past it, what are you supposed to do? I think this is, I don't know. I guess I gotta wait to see how it's gonna all play out. I don't like the no onside kick or the hidden stuff that you can't do anymore because that's what it was all about. Maybe they should just, just punt it wherever it's at and then just go play because they're just that portion of the game was the intense stuff because you had like 8 seconds. You could have done a kickoff return. You could
Hmm.
have got a touchdown. I think we're not going to see as many of them, or I could be wrong. We could see all of them. They could be returned. And in fact, preseason's underway, and there's a game tonight we're going to talk about in a couple minutes.
Yeah, and even one of the funniest things that I saw was, so let's say it's a windy day and you need someone to hold the ball. In the old days, you got one of the 11 and you just held the ball. You can have a designated 12th player on the field. He holds the ball, but get this, he holds the ball. Basically, after the ball is kicked, he has to run off as fast as he can off the field, almost like a kid with a kickoff tee getting the ball. So he has to run off the field, cannot engage at all. And the kicker,
Oh, dude,
yeah,
I
the
can see this
kicker,
right now. This is what's gonna
it's just
happen.
so silly.
He's gonna run off, right? And he's gonna unintentionally be one of the blockers in the pile. I can already see this is gonna be a play Bill Belichick would have schemed up. He's like, listen, I want you to quickly look to see what side he's running to, and I want you to run into the traffic and just look away, pretend like you're lost.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the other thing that's interesting is that the kicker can't actually run down the field to tackle anybody. He can, and I'm not sure the exact
Does he have
wording
to
of the
skip
language.
down the field?
He can't actually pursue downfield. He has to kind of wait for them to come to him. It's a weird wording that they put in it, but basically the 12th man has to run off and the kicker can't be active in the play really. So it's so it's so silly. And I know they used it in the UFL. That's where this is all coming from. They used it in this past year in the UFL, but it's a different thing on a national stage when you're talking about the NFL. And I could see them. I would like it if they did it in the preseason, um, because it gives you time to let it bake in. Let's see
Yep.
how it does. But they're going full fledged on this thing this year, and it'll be interesting to see how it actually pans out.
Dan, before we actually talk about seeing some of this in action at the preseason game that's happening tonight, are there anything more on the kickoff rules?
So the kickoff rules, I mean, it's just going to be interesting. I think what actually teams are experimenting with is actually not having a full fledged kicker out there. They're actually, experimenting with punters and everything. You can't do the drop kick, but I think you're actually going to see some instances in which kickers are only going to be seen on field goals and, extra points. So it'll be interesting to see.
But why is that? Why would they do punters versus the kickers? I mean, they're still trying to get it right within, the 10 to 20 yard line, right?
Yeah, you're trying to pooch it in there, but there's less of a risk of an injury, I guess. I really don't know the reasoning behind it, but I know they were trying. Other teams are trying out different people to try this thing because usually the kickers you just want to kick it as hard as you can, but now you're actually being almost penalized for having a kick out of the back of the end zone because you're allowing the team to
Get to
receive
the
the ball at
freaking
the
30.
30.
Yeah. It's All right, we're gonna see this tonight. Tonight, the Eagles' first preseason against Baltimore, 7:30. Dan and I are gonna watch some of this kickoff stuff. We'll have to comment it on our next one. Plus, we'll take some notes and highlights what we feel. Remind you that we know the main starters aren't going to be in there. There's going to be some starters, might just a couple of reps, and they'll be done. But Dan, I'm not sure about these kickoff rules. I guess we're just gonna have to find out.
Yeah, so actually, in reference to that, Jeff McClain came out and said that the starters, now it depends on weather, because from what we're hearing, the field is having issues draining as of right now because they're getting hammered with the hurricane. But as of like around 6 o'clock, it's supposed to stop. So they're hopeful the field will be fine. But um, Jeff McClain's reporting that Sirianni said that the starters are anticipated to play at least one series. So we might actually see the full
That's not
complement of
usual though.
starters.
That very
No,
infrequent. When there
no,
was
no.
4 preseason games, the first preseason game, we did get to see the starters for one series. Now with the 3 for the last year, 2 years, whatever, we have not seen really the main starters play any
Right.
preseason.
Yeah, it's going to be different. I think the reasoning behind that probably is because they want to see how Kellen Moore, how the team integrates. I find it a little odd on offense. Like I said, because of Kellen Moore might be the reason, but you've got basically 9 entrenched starters out there. You have a question at wide receiver 3, and you kind of have a question at the right guard position. Is it going to be Steen? Is it going to be Bektai? I guess is his name. So, but you've got 9 established veterans. This isn't like first year guys. So, as an Eagle fan, I love it. I want to see the starters as long as I can. But as being a realist here, I just don't think it's worth the risk in soggy field conditions the way it being. So it'll be interesting to see how Sirianni does play it, but anticipate seeing them for at least a start or to start the game for like a series.
All right. Well, I've got my watch set. We've got to run out, so I'll be home just in time to see. I got to see this kickoff thing happening. Dan, before we wrap things up, all right, and let's just say, if we say the starters, I want to know what you think the score is going to be. It's preseason, so obviously we're going to mess some things up, and starters may play or not. How do you think the Eagles are going to do against the Ravens?
I really think this is going to be a great test. The Ravens are they are an upper echelon team for the AFC. Um, well coached team coming from our old special teams coach. Um, that being said, I do think that the Ravens are going to come out with a victory tonight, only because of the uncertainty we have within our third stringers. I couldn't even tell you who's on the third string of the Ravens, but um, you know, I think the Ravens will win, but I do think you're going to see some good reps by the defense here, because I really like the depth we have at the defense, and that's something that's really been lacking for the last few years. But I really think that you're going to see some good reps by our defense. I'm going to say, let's say 27-17, maybe
I was
twenty-seven
going
seventeen.
28, 14, 17. So right around there was going to be my prediction. And it's not that we're siding against the Eagles because we're avid Eagles fans, obviously, but in preseason, the Eagles rarely ever win. And that's obviously for a reason. I mean, I never take
Yeah.
preseason for whatever it is. It's just kind of the guys that get reps so they can knock it down to the 53-man roster. Um, Now, I'm right there with you. I'm saying about 28, 14, 28, 17. I'll go with 17. 28. What
Yeah.
did you go? 27?
27-17. Yeah.
I
Right
go
around
about
there.
28, 17 on it. I mean, they could come out strong. They could turn this around and win. And uh, then I'll just be the 28 will be the Eagles. I mean, hey, I'll still get the numbers right.
Yeah, I mean, they could. Yeah. But I think the things to watch would really be, you want to see that competition at the corner positions. Everybody's been talking about, who's going to be opposite Slay, which I think at this point looks like Isaiah Rogers. Who's going to start in the nickel? I can't say for sure, but we might get a look at Mitchell there. And who's going to be our third wide receiver? We're saying that, could it be Paris Campbell? Could it be Wilson? John Ross has been sprinkled in there, so it'll be interesting to see that. But believe it or not, and it's not the sexiest position, I think that to see the linebacker play, um, Vic Fangio came out and said, without a strong linebacking core, the defense will falter. But around that same sentence, he said that Nakobe Dean took a step back at the live practice. So it seems like Nakobe Dean's really fallen out of favor. And we all know he struggles in pass protection, and he's a liability out there. So I would anticipate seeing Devin White, your newly signed guy, and
Yep.
Zach Baun, another newly signed guy, who always has been an edge rusher and will get his first start and his first look as an inside linebacker tonight.
It's going to be definitely interesting to see. I think I'm more interested for the defense. Right. I'm comfortable
Mm-hmm.
in some of our offensive activity. You said who's going to be obviously our third. Campbell looking out there for wide receiver. Covey's kind of looking good, I got to tell you. So I want to see if he's going to be out on. You might see him in this because obviously he's did the kick returns or the punt returns and everything. And seeing him out in this will be pretty good. But I really want to lean on our defense because our defense faltered in so much in last year that we just could not stop anything. So seeing Vic and some of the things
Mm-hmm.
that they're going to do on the field, I think almost every Eagles fan is going to watch this first preseason game, regardless of it being a preseason.
Yeah, absolutely. You just want to see some live football. You want to see some hitting, some
Yeah,
some
except for
some
those
kind of
kickoff
physical
rules.
contact. Yeah, no, no. Pretty soon it's going to be, you can only grab the kicker by the flag, and two hand touch on kickoffs. It's just so crazy. But yeah, it's. I have to roll my eyes because I feel like it's the most outlandish thing. They're just, uh, I don't know. I didn't really like the whole kickoff from the 35 thing when they changed that. Um, but if they said that the kickoffs are the reason why people are getting injured, then I have to believe them, and that's good that they're looking out for player safety. But as a fan, I think that the 1980s, even 90s fans would take a look at the NFL today and just say that's a bunch of pansies walking around out there.
Yes.
So,
And it's going to be two-hand touch. All right, Dan, I got to wrap things up, everybody. This has been the Philly Fan Radio. I'm your host, John Myer, along with Dan Palmieri. Dan, as always, thanks for doing this with me, bud.
thank you very much, and it'll be good talking to you next week. Hopefully after an Eagles win, but either way, we'll have some evaluations to make.
Exactly. All right, everybody. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify because guess what? We're out of here.